Hello. It's been a while since you've actually seen a live me. I have put out videos that don't include me. Today, we're going to talk about what it means to be conservative. And then we're going to talk about Soviet Russia and communism. Don't let anybody tell you that they're not still communists. What they have now is a one-party system with two wings. And Putin is ex-KGB. It's important, before I get started, to let everybody know that we have an indoctrinated view. So what is and was intended are two different things. A conservative today is not the actual intent. Liberals and conservatives are so close today, but the actual intent of conservative was to preserve, save the Constitution as it was written before 1791, when all these amendments and laws, legislation, whatever you want to, we started adding. And that's when we got off track. For instance, the right to bear arms. Why did they put that in there? Conservatives, real conservatives, believed that the citizen was going to be the military, okay? There was no standing military, as there is today. The citizen was supposed to be armed just as well as the government, so that the government couldn't bully them around. And back in the 1700s, you had a musket, you had a sword, a Cherokee axe, whatever. You were the militia. There was no army. Organized army was something the government put together whenever they got into a war. And they always had the militia in the main army. So today, there's a question of what it means. Should you be allowed to have a tank in the driveway? The liberal will tell you, that's crazy. Should you be allowed to have a rocket launcher to shoot down drones that are trying to kill you? A liberal will tell you, that's crazy. Should you be as well armed as the government's army? Well, if you look at the original intent, you damn right. Okay, think about it. That's what it is to be conservative, okay? I should have a tank, okay? I should have a rocket launcher. I should be as well armed as the government is to defend myself against the government if they become tyrannical. Tyrannical, that is. But I'm not only supposed to be armed for that, people. I'm supposed to be armed for that to protect myself from criminals who could get the same thing on the black market. I am also supposed to be armed in this fashion in case someone like the Russians or the Chinese or the Muslims want to invade. I can defend myself, my neighbors, against the enemy. Okay? And then, here's one you're really going, okay? I should even have a mini nuke. And you're going to say that's crazy, aren't you? You're going to say that's crazy because what are you going to do with that mini nuke? Well, I'm not going to use it because governments don't use nukes. Have you ever seen a government use a nuke? It's just there for a deterrent. It's there so that you have what they call mutually assured destruction, so that nobody goes to war. Congress and the Senate and, even the President, in the original intent of the Constitution, we're not even supposed to make up laws or amendments or legislation, whatever. None of that concerning the right to bear arms. That was for somebody else to decide, the public themselves. Now, a sane person is gonna, yes, arm themselves. Just like the government is armed to defend themselves, not only against the government, but criminals and invading forces. Not just one group, you see, but 3 groups. Now that's the right to bear arms. Now, the freedom of speech has also been limited. And once again, amendments, legislation, laws, what have you, that are against the original intent. I should be able to say whatever I want. Government has got absolutely no right to tell me, oh, you can only say that if you stand over here. Oh, you can only say that if you don't say it directly to the person that believes the exact opposite. For example, you don't like Zionists, so you go out and you speak in front of a place that is owned by Jews, Zionists, and whatever in the Jewish community. And woo! You're in trouble. And then there's laws that say, you know, you can say what you want to say, just as long as you don't incite violence. Well, that wasn't the original intent, but that's what we have now, because the true American citizen would never, you know, they'd say, yes, what they want to say, but but they'd be reasonable and not try to incite violence. This is the liberal, you see. It's to restrain people. And the original intent of the conservative intent is not to restrain. That's freedom of speech, you know. Then they get into this privacy thing and abortion rights and all this garbage, and they pass lots of legislation and laws about it and everything, and they had absolutely no right to do that. The Constitution didn't say anything, you know, whether it was for or against it, you know. The Constitution only said that, you know, it was supposed to defend life and liberty and pursuit of happiness, all that stuff, you know. Well, abortion. Okay. The conservatives are going to tell you that is life. So you're going against the Constitution, right? So leave the government, leave the Constitution out of it. You know, it's not for them to decide, and they shouldn't make up laws and legislation and garbage. Who you're gonna? If you're a liberal, you're gonna ask them who decides. Now, I'm of the opinion that the doctors should decide, okay? And if the doctors decide, then the Hippocratic Oath, you're supposed to protect, you know, life, the person. And there we are once again.
Hello. No, that's good to know, but there's no Ed Johnson here.
in the end, you're either going to abstain from it, or you're going to have contraception, whether we like it or not, because prevention, it just seems logical, right? But then again, that's liberal thinking, you see? It's a big crux. So, I'd be wrong to say any of that. So I think that I'm more right if I just say abstain from it.
Is it really you?
And that's abortion. So the conservative intent, is to defend, preserve, save the Constitution. As it was originally written. Provide all rights, pass no laws, legislation, what have you. The government is supposed to be small, not big and on steroids, and because then you become what our next subject is which is communism. We need to remember that small government is good. Big government gets out of hand. Whether it's state or federal, they got no business making legislation or anything like that. Passing amendments and laws and everything. Adding on, becoming more restraining. Now let's talk about the Soviet Union. Isn't it interesting how not much has changed in Russia? They only have a one-party system over there with two wings, a left and a communist. And like I say, Putin is ex-KGB. And he's a millionaire now. What has changed in Russia? Russia has become more corporatized. That's about it. Because communism is not only economic, it is political. It is both together. That is why you have the sickle and the hammer. It was the working class. It was promised that no one would be worse off or better than anybody else. Only the politicals, the elite politicals, who promised to protect and give you human rights and freedom of speech and all of the same things that a conservative would say you have. But then they turn right around and put restraints on you and tell you you could only say, what we want you to say. In other words, you have freedom of speech only if we allow it. You had all the same things, and we would promise you them, but only if we allow it. Now, if you were an American and you were visiting, and this was communist Russia, the Soviets, you went over there, and you were like a tourist. You went around and took pictures and all this and all that. You would notice on the sidewalk, on the street, wherever, there was a fellow dressed in, nice and not unlike our CIA or NSA today. And the minute you looked at him, he'd look away. They were observing you, but they didn't want you to know that they were observing you. And not only this, there were cameras everywhere. The Soviets were almost an extreme police state, but today, that's quite different because you have the Russian mafia, see? Organized crime. Would not exist in Soviet Russia, with cameras everywhere and the KGB on the corner watching. The communists said that they provided all that the people required. And they still would violate your human rights. And that's the difference between the conservatives and the communists. Our conservatives are nothing like the communists in the Soviet Union.
No, the Muppets did. Kermit and Miss Piggy appeared in my dream They were very persuasive and made some excellent points. Musically.
So, Soviet communism.
Come on, we are not changing our plans based on a talking doll and a dream. So is everything you said?
There's a ladder.
This is how much your new house is going to cost.
Okay. You'd have socialism down here. You'd have communism just above that. And then fascism at the top.
Great news, Charlie. We're rebuilding the whole house. And we couldn't have done it without you and your imaginary friends.
And we'll talk about that next week. Because it's important to see that
I thought maybe it's my chance to get discovered.
socialism is just one of the steps on the ladder.
Does she like jokes?
And communism is just above it. And fascism is at the top. You're working toward becoming a pure fascist. They all oppose each other,
Who's a comedian here?
but they have one thing in common: collectivism.
The thing is I'm knocking because there is no doorbell. You see?
Communism is just another
Stick around. We'll be right back to the show on Disney Channel Summer. On Disney Channel Summer.
form of the collectivist view.
To figure out feelings.
Am I jealous? You wouldn't know how to be jealous.
And the collectivist view is,
Hasn't changed in 6 years.
And you need friends.
the core collectivist view is that you can sacrifice an individual here or there, or even a group here or there, for the whole, for the better of the whole.
Everyone watching out for her. The fun continues with the Duncan family and more. Good luck, Charlie, next on Disney Channel Summer.
So communism is just socialism on steroids. And fascism is even worse than that. And there's a military element in it because the leaders were almost always dressed in uniform.
But I think that's where I started to learn to love to sing. It was so much fun that I got to report to Sabrina because obviously we're best friends and I love singing with her. I have two siblings, Carmen, who's 10 years old, and a little brother, Shane.
The Soviets and Chinese
We used to do shows and we
were
would
the communists then,
play and sing songs.
and are only slightly different now because of corporatism. When you insert corporatism and the elites and everything into everything, things get changed.
All of us support each other equally, and I think that's what makes us such a great family. I'm Rose Lantern, and this is who I am.
Because,
On Disney Channel Summer.
and this is prevalent all over the world. Okay? Elitism manipulates government now.
Careful about how I answered that.
Which is why there is no true communism, as was told to me by a communist himself. I had an opponent, and I probably still do. He just doesn't talk to me anymore. He doesn't like me. He'll give you the rose-colored glasses view of communism and tell you that it provides for all the same things, and it's just about fairness and and everybody's supposed to be the same and so on, and the government is going to protect you and all that. But when you put collectivism in, you fail at communism. And it's the same with socialists and the fascists. So the original intent of the communists is to be economically equal across the board for the citizens. And the state was going to mother you.
Really? That is
to an extreme. They were going to do everything for you, so you almost didn't have to do nothing. They'd violate your human rights or whatever and tell you with a bold face lie that they're actually defending you. Economic, working class, and the politicals. That was communism. Communism of today is entirely different. Because of the elites, you have elite classes, like Putin and the Lees in China. And you have organized crime, like the Russian mafia or even the Chinese mafia, which is called the Yakuza. Organized crime. But it's still a one-party system. And collectivism is present. If you practiced communism the way they promised it was going to be practiced, with the human rights inserted into it and, freedom of speech, everything that a conservative would offer. Like Jesus Christ. Wouldn't it work? Because people get angry when I say this, but I say it a lot. Jesus Christ was a true communist. He wanted you to get rid of everything and not be any better than anybody else or worse off than anybody else. But he would protect you, your rights, okay? And tell you that it wasn't his job to judge you. His Father was going to do that when you got to heaven. So true communism and causing communism as it was practiced by the Soviets, two different things. And my opponent would tell you that.
You're telling me?
And also remember, whenever anybody says, you know, they talk about communism here, they go back to Karl Marx. Because Karl Marx was the man who explained communism in the 10 planks of communism. You want to know about the 10 planks of communism, you look it up on Wikipedia. Wikipedia will tell you exactly what they were. Or you go on and you type in the 10 planks, and there are a lot of sites, you know, that will explain them to you. Big taxes, they lay that on you. Doesn't that sound like what they're doing right now to us here in America? Taxing the shit out of everybody. Government regulated schools. No, there are more schools that are government rather than private. And your taxes pay for them too. And there's all these socialist programs like Social Security and welfare. All this and that's mothering, okay? That's what the communists promised you, but they wouldn't deliver. Oh, they would be there, but in conditional. In a conditional form. Oh, we'll do this for you if. if. That's just how it was. So look up the 10 planks.
Where's your train?
Oh, he didn't get one. I just gave him one.
Did you give him a box for his birthday?
Yeah, that's a good pitch. You learned that.
Well, I hope this has been helpful. We'll talk some more about it next week. Because I want to do this in 2 parts. But this was communism versus conservatism. And there's really no comparison at all. Next week I'm going to tell you, though, there is a comparison between the Democratic Liberal and the Communists. So I'll see you next week.